I never thought I'd find myself sharing this story, but here I am. My name is Jake, and I was married to a woman named Sarah for 5 years. We met in college, bonded over our love for movies, and everything felt perfect for a long time. At least that's what I thought. We had the typical ups and downs, but nothing out of the ordinary. We had started talking about kids, moving into a bigger place. Life was moving along smoothly until, well, it was. Lately, I had sensed something off with Sarah. She had become distant, and not just the usual "I'm busy" kind of distant. She started canceling plans on me last minute and was unusually secretive about her phone. I could feel a shift, but I dismissed it for too long, convincing myself that it was just work stress or something. I should have trusted my gut. The first red flag was the night she came home late, claiming she had been working with a colleague on a project. I shrugged it off, but the next week the same thing happened again. More late nights, more excuses. She started to spend a lot of time with her friend Mia, who had a knack for drama and seemed to stir trouble wherever she went. I didn't like that either, but I kept my suspicions at bay, hoping it was just my imagination running wild. Then came the tattoo incident. I walked into the living room one Saturday afternoon to find Sarah sitting on the couch, her phone angled just right so I couldn't see the screen. She was giggling, a sound that had been fading from our home. I raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. Later that evening, I asked her about it and she brushed me off, claiming it was nothing. Just girl talk, she said. I tried to convince myself that I was paranoid. The final nail in the coffin came when I was cleaning out the garage. I stumbled upon a small, weathered envelope that had been tucked away behind a box. It felt like fate telling me to open it. Inside were pictures of Sarah and another man grinning next to each other, their arms wrapped around each other, and worse, they had matching tattoos. I felt my heart plummet. A rush of nausea hit me like a freight train. I could breathe. The tattoos were a matching sun and moon design, the kind you'd get with your significant other. I could feel the rage and betrayal coursing through my veins. I thought about the last few months, the late nights, the secrets, and I realized it all made sense now. I didn't need to know more. I was devastated but also furious. I confronted her that night. The look on her face when I showed her the pictures was a mix of shock and defiance. "Jake, it's not what you think," she exclaimed. But I wasn't in the mood for her lies. The denial spilled out of her in waves. She said it was just a fling, that she wasn't in love with him and that I shouldn't worry. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was she really trying to downplay this? I didn't listen to her excuses. "You got matching tattoos, Sarah. How do you think that's not serious?" I yelled. She looked at me with those big, doe-like eyes, trying to feign innocence, but the truth was written all over her face. I felt like a fool, and I was angry, not just at her but at myself for not seeing the signs sooner. The emotional impact hit me hard after the confrontation. I felt a whirlwind of emotions: betrayal, anger, and deep sadness. I couldn't believe that the woman I had shared my life with could do this to me. I remember sitting on the edge of our bed, feeling utterly lost and broken. How could someone who promised to love me forever just throw it all away? I ran through a million scenarios in my head, feeling like I was losing control of my own life. As the dust began to settle, I had to think about what came next. I didn't want to wallow in this pain forever, but I also had to confront the reality of my marriage. I took a deep breath, and I knew that whatever decision I made would change my life forever. The days following my discovery were a blur of emotions and sleepless nights. I went to work, but I felt like a ghost, just going through the motions, pretending everything was normal while turmoil raged inside me. My coworkers noticed, of course, asking if I was okay. I shrugged it off, muttering something about lack of sleep, if only they knew. Sarah tried to act normal, going about her day as if nothing had happened. It was infuriating. She even had the nerve to ask if we could get dinner together that weekend. I couldn't believe she thought we could just move on from this. I rejected her invitation, telling her I was busy. I needed time to think, to process the mess she had made of our lives. The following week, I found myself standing in front of the mirror, staring at my own reflection, trying to find the man I used to be. Instead, I saw someone worn down by betrayal and anger. I had been so invested in our relationship that I felt like I had lost my identity. I needed to reclaim it, and that realization brought me to a crossroads. I decided that I needed to confront Sarah again, this time with a clearer head. The anger had simmered down a bit, but the hurt was still fresh. I needed answers, real answers, not the excuses that flowed from her lips like water. I had to let her know that I wasn't going to be a doormat any longer. I called her one afternoon, asking her to meet me at our favorite coffee shop. It was a place filled with memories, sweet moments that now felt tainted. When I walked in, I saw her sitting at a corner table, fiddling with her phone, a forced smile plastered on her face. It made my blood boil again. "Let's talk," I said, taking a seat across from her. Her smile faltered, and I could tell she knew this wasn't going to be a casual conversation. "What's up?" she asked, feigning nonchalance. I placed the envelope with the photos on the table between us. "You know what's up, Sarah. I want the truth, and I want it now." She looked down at the photos, her expression changing. "Jake, I can explain. Save it. I don't want to hear any more lies," I interrupted, my voice steady though my heart was racing. "I need to know how long this has been going on." She hesitated, glancing around as if the other patrons could hear our conversation. "It was just a mistake. We were drunk. It didn't mean anything." "Then why did you get matching tattoos? You don't do that with someone you do care about," I shot back, my voice rising. I could feel the warmth of anger creeping up my neck. "It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. I didn't think it would be a big deal. I thought it could be something fun, something to bond over," she said, her voice shaky. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Bonding over infidelity? Is that how you define fun now?" Her eyes darted around the room, and I could see tears forming. It struck me that deep down she was experiencing guilt but still grasping for an excuse. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. "I never meant for it to get this far," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I could handle it, that I could keep it all separate. I was just confused." "Confused, really? You think that's an excuse?" I replied, feeling the weight of my heartbreak transform into rage. "You chose to cheat on me, Sarah. You chose him over us." She shook her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry, Jake. I never wanted to hurt you. You have to believe me." But I couldn't believe her anymore. The woman sitting across from me was a stranger, someone I didn't recognize. I had trusted her with my heart, my dreams, and she threw it all away for what? A misguided fling. I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to suppress the emotions swirling inside me. I felt anger, sadness, and something that I couldn't quite put my finger on, disappointment maybe. "Do you even love him?" I asked, my voice low and steady. Looked up, and in that moment I saw the truth reflected in her eyes. "I don't know, it was just easy, I think. I didn't want to think about us." That admission hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't believe I was sitting there listening to her. "You didn't want to think about us. What about the vows we took? What about the promises?" "I was wrong, Jake," she said, wiping her tears. "I was so wrong. I want to fix this. Can't we just forget it? We can move past this, I promise." The desperation in her voice only fueled my anger. "Forget it? You think I can just forget that you betrayed me? You think I can pretend that this did happen?" I stood up, ready to walk away. I had reached my breaking point. "This isn't something you can just gloss over with a few tears and empty promises. You've made your choice, Sarah, and it's clear where your loyalty lies." Walking out of that coffee shop felt like shedding the last remnants of my old life. I didn't want to be the man who sat and listened to excuses anymore. I wanted to be the man who took control of his life, who demanded respect. I wasn't sure what would happen next, but I knew I had to start making decisions for myself. My heart ached, but I felt a flicker of resolve igniting within me. After that coffee shop confrontation, I needed space. I'd spent the last few weeks in a fog, but now I had clarity. Sarah's betrayal was no longer just a wave of emotions crashing down on me. It was a call to action. I couldn't go back to the life we had before. It was time for me to think about what I really wanted. I decided to stay with my brother Mike for a while. He lived a few towns over and had a spare room. I called him that evening, and he immediately sensed something was off. "You okay, man?" he asked with genuine concern. "Not really. Can I crash at your place for a bit?" I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course. You know you're welcome anytime," Mike said. "Just come over. We'll figure it out." The drive to his place felt like a lifeline. I was leaving the memories of our home behind, but I also felt the weight of regret lifting slightly. In the safety of my brother's home, I could think clearly. I didn't want to wallow in sadness. I wanted to reclaim my life. I spent that first night trying to drown out the memories of Sarah with old movies and takeout. Mike joined me, bringing over some beers to help ease the tension. "You want to talk about it?" he finally asked, breaking the silence. "I don't know, man. I just feel so betrayed," I admitted, my throat tightening. "She cheated on me, and I can't shake the feeling that I was blind to it all. People can switch up on you when you least expect it," Mike said, his tone serious. "You did the right thing by confronting her, but now you have to figure out what you want for yourself." That conversation with Mike was a turning point. I realized I needed to put myself first. I didn't want to just exist in the aftermath of Sarah's betrayal. I wanted to thrive. I started thinking about what I wanted moving forward. The next day, I found myself scrolling through social media, and that's when I saw it, an Instagram post from Sarah. She was at the beach, holding hands with the guy from the pictures, laughing as the sun set behind them. She was happy. I felt the anger rise again, but this time it was mixed with something else, determination. I couldn't keep living in the shadow of her choices. I decided I had to take charge of my own narrative. I reached out to a tattoo removal clinic I had seen online. The matching tattoo that had once seemed like a symbol of our love was now a reminder of betrayal. I booked an appointment to get my half removed. In the days that followed, I focused on myself, hitting the gym, spending time with Mike, and rediscovering hobbies I had lost in the shuffle of marriage. I even started cooking again, something I had always enjoyed but had set aside for takeout during our busy life together. Each day felt like a small victory, a step toward reclaiming who I was before Sarah. Then, about a week later, I got the call from the tattoo removal clinic. I was nervous but determined. When I arrived for my appointment, I felt a sense of liberation. As the technician prepped me, I couldn't help but think about how this was more than just skin deep. This was about moving on, truly moving on. "Ready?" the technician asked, looking at me with a reassuring smile. "Yeah, let's do this," I replied, steeling myself. The procedure was quick, and as I sat there feeling the sting of the laser, I imagined it taking away not just the ink but the memories associated with it. This was my moment of rebirth, a chance to start over and take control. When I left the clinic, I felt lighter, like a burden had been lifted. I grabbed my phone and texted Mike. "Just got my tattoo removed, time for a new chapter." He replied almost immediately. "That's what I'm talking about, let's celebrate tonight." We ended up at a local bar, sharing a few drinks and laughing. I felt a sense of camaraderie that I had missed in my relationship. I realized how important it was to have a support system, people who would stand by you when things got rough. That night, amidst the laughter and the clinking of glasses, I made a decision. I wouldn't let Sarah's choices define my future. I would carve out my own path, filled with people who appreciated me for who I was. I wasn't sure what that looked like yet, but I was excited to find out. As the night wore on, I couldn't help but feel that I was finally moving past the pain. I had faced the betrayal head-on, confronted the woman I thought I knew, and taken steps to reclaim my life. I felt stronger, and that strength would carry me forward. I still had a long way to go, but I was ready to embrace whatever came next. Life after the tattoo removal was a whirlwind of change, and for the first time in weeks I felt hopeful. I was still reeling from Sarah's betrayal, but rebuilding my life became a priority. I focused on my job, my health, and spending time with friends who lifted me up instead of bringing me down. Mike had become my anchor during this storm. He listened without judgment, always supporting me as I navigated my new reality. The days turned into weeks, and I found myself rediscovering old passions. I started going to the gym regularly, pushing myself to lift weights I hadn't touched in years. I felt stronger, not just physically but mentally. I even joined a local hiking group on weekends. Nature was healing, and it felt good to be outdoors, surrounded by a supportive community of people who were all about adventure and positivity. But even with all the improvements in my life, the scars of betrayal were still fresh. I occasionally saw Sarah's posts on social media, pictures of her and that guy living their best lives. It stung, but I learned to scroll past. I was determined not to let her choices dictate my happiness anymore. One evening, while sitting on Mike's couch, I got a text from an unknown number. I hesitated before opening it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was a message from Mia, Sarah's friend, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I had never been fond of Mia. She always seemed to encourage Sarah's reckless behavior. "Hey Jake, I hope you're doing okay. I know this might be unexpected, but I wanted to reach out," the text read. My heart raced. What could she possibly want? I took a deep breath before responding. "What do you need?" She replied quickly, explaining that she had seen how much Sarah had changed since the affair and felt the need to come clean. "I didn't know about the cheating until recently. I thought she was just going through a rough patch and I didn't want to get involved. But now I feel terrible," she wrote. "I was skeptical. Why should I believe you? You're the one who encouraged her to have fun, right?" "I know, and I regret it. I didn't think it would go this far. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I just felt like you should. Know that I wasn't aware of everything happening behind the scenes," she replied. "I'm really sorry, Jake. It was a lot to digest. Part of me wanted to lash out at her for being complicit in Sarah's decisions, but I also understood that she wasn't entirely to blame. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was reaching out for a reason, maybe to ease her own guilt. Thanks for telling me, but honestly, I'm done with all of it. Sarah made her choices and I'm focusing on myself now," I texted back. "Fair enough. Just know that I'm here if you ever want to talk," she replied. I put my phone down, feeling strange. I didn't know if I felt relieved or unsettled. The conversation had stirred up emotions I thought I had buried. I realized that no matter how far I tried to distance myself from Sarah, her shadow still loomed over me in some way. The following weekend, I went hiking with my new group. The trail was steep, and I pushed myself to keep pace with the others, feeling the fresh air fill my lungs with every step. It felt empowering. After reaching the summit, I stood there, taking in the breathtaking view. I felt a sense of accomplishment and peace. It was moments like these that reminded me of the beauty in life, even amidst the chaos. While at the summit, I struck up a conversation with a woman named Emma. She had a warm smile and a contagious laugh, and I found myself opening up about my journey in a way I hadn't expected. Conversation flowed easily between us, and I could feel the tension in my chest begin to ease. We exchanged numbers, and for the first time since the breakup, a small flicker of excitement sparked within me. As the weeks passed, Emma and I started seeing each other more regularly. It was a breath of fresh air, getting to know someone new without the baggage of betrayal hanging over us. Emma was adventurous and kind, and the way she listened to me felt refreshing. I began to let my guard down, slowly allowing myself to hope for something new, something different. But even as I started to move forward, I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed closure with Sarah. I didn't want to be haunted by unfinished business, so one night after gathering my thoughts, I decided to send her a message. I had kept my distance, but I felt it was time for one last conversation. "Sarah, can we talk?" I typed, my heart racing. Her response came quickly. "Of course, I've wanted to talk too." We agreed to meet at a small cafe, the same place where we had had many happy moments. Walking in felt surreal, memories flooded back, but I pushed them aside. I was here for closure. When Sarah arrived, her demeanor was different. She seemed nervous, fidgeting with her fingers as she sat down. "Thanks for meeting me," she said softly. "Let's just get to it, Sarah. I want to know, do you regret what you did?" I asked, cutting straight to the chase. She looked down, avoiding eye contact. "Every day. I made the worst mistake of my life. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know how sorry I am." I nodded, surprised by the weight of her words. "You hurt me, Sarah, and I've had to rebuild my life because of it. I can't just forget that." I No, I've been a wreck since it happened. I thought I could handle the situation, but I lost everything that mattered to me," she confessed, her voice trembling. "I don't want to keep holding on to this anger," I said. "I want to move forward, but I can't do that if you're still a lingering thought in my head." She finally looked up, tears in her eyes. "I want you to find happiness, Jake. I've seen how much you've grown since we split. You deserve someone who truly values you." Her honesty stung, but at the same time it gave me a sense of relief. "I'm working on it, Sarah. I really am. You were a part of my life for so long, but I'm ready to let go." The conversation was cathartic. It felt like laying down a heavy burden, and for the first time in a while, I felt lighter. I realized that while Sarah and the memories of our relationship would always be a part of my story, they didn't define me. I was moving forward, embracing the unknown. As we parted ways, I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past slipping away. I had faced the pain, confronted the person who had hurt me, and finally found a sense of closure. It was time to embrace the future, no matter what it held. The meeting with Sarah felt like a turning point, a necessary step toward moving on. I left that cafe with a sense of finality, like I had closed a chapter in my life that I didn't want to revisit. I could finally stop looking back and start focusing on what lay ahead. I had spent so much time mired in betrayal and anger, but now the future felt like an open road, one that was mine to explore. In the weeks that followed, I continued to enjoy my time with Emma. She was refreshing in ways I hadn't anticipated, always encouraging me to step outside my comfort zone. She introduced me to her love for rock climbing, and as I hung from the wall, I felt exhilarated. It was a stark contrast to the heaviness I had carried for so long. Emma made me laugh, and I found myself smiling again, something I had almost forgotten how to do. One night, we were sitting on a hill, overlooking the city, the skyline twinkling like stars. Emma turned to me, her expression earnest. "I really enjoy spending time with you, Jake. It feels easy, doesn't it?" I nodded, feeling a warmth spread through me. "It does. I didn't think I could feel this way again after everything." "Yeah, I get that, but it's okay to feel happy again," she said, her voice soft. "You deserve it." Her words hit me hard. I had spent so long being angry and hurt that I had forgotten it was okay to embrace joy. Emma had given me that gift, and I realized how important it was to allow myself to experience happiness again. As we sat there, gazing at the city, I made a decision. I was ready to let go of the past completely. I wanted to be present, to cherish the moments we were creating together. I leaned over and kissed her, feeling the electricity between us. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. I wanted to create new memories, build something real with someone who appreciated me for who I was. However, as things progressed with Emma, I still had lingering thoughts. About Sarah, I began to feel guilty for my newfound happiness. Would I ever truly be able to detach myself from the past? Could I really let go of the resentment? I resolved to speak about it openly with Emma. One evening, as we were cooking dinner together, I broached the subject. "Hey, can I be honest with you about something?" "Of course. What's up?" she asked, her attention focused on the sizzling pan in front of us. "I still think about my past sometimes, especially Sarah. I'm working on it, but I just want to be transparent with you." I paused, gauging her reaction. "I don't want you to feel like I'm holding back." Emma stopped stirring and turned to face me. "I appreciate you telling me that, Jake. It's a big deal to share that, and it's okay to have feelings about it. Just don't let it get in the way of what we have." Her understanding wrapped around me like a comforting blanket. "I'm trying not to. I really enjoy what we're building." "Good. Just remember that I'm here for you, and I don't want you to feel guilty for feeling how you feel," she said, a reassuring smile lighting up her face. We finished dinner, and as we shared a glass of wine, I felt lighter. Emma's support encouraged me to confront my emotions rather than bury them. I realized that acknowledging the past didn't mean I was stuck there. It simply meant I was working through it. A few days later, I received a text from Mia asking if I wanted to grab a coffee. The idea caught me off guard. I hadn't considered that I might want to speak to her again. I felt a mixture of curiosity and anxiety. Maybe it was time to clear the air and address the role she played in all of this. I agreed to meet her at a cafe close to my apartment. When I arrived, I found her seated at a table fiddling with her phone. She looked up when I approached, a nervous smile on her face. "Thanks for meeting me, Jake. I really appreciate it." "Yeah, of course. I wasn't sure if I should, but I figured it might be good to talk," I replied, taking a seat across from her. We exchanged pleasantries before getting into the heart of the conversation. I wanted to apologize again for everything that happened. I didn't mean to be a part of it, but I also knew what was happening and didn't do anything to stop it, she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. I thought about her words. I don't think you're solely responsible for what Sarah did. She made her own choices, but I appreciate you reaching out. This must be hard for you too. I just felt like I needed to take responsibility for my part in it. I never wanted to hurt you, honestly, she said, looking genuinely remorseful. Thank you for saying that. I guess it's comforting to know that not everyone around her condoned what she did, I replied. I'm just trying to move forward and focus on my own happiness. I can see that you're doing well. I've heard from Sarah and she's really struggling, Mia shared hesitantly. I didn't want to bring her up, but I thought you should know. I took a deep breath. While I felt sympathy for Sarah's struggle, it didn't change what she had done. It's her journey now, and I hope she finds what she needs, but I can't be a part of it anymore. We talked for a while longer, and I found that I had no lingering animosity toward Mia. It felt liberating to express my thoughts openly, and I left the cafe feeling as though another layer had been peeled away from my heart. I didn't need to carry bitterness anymore. I was ready to let it go. When I returned home, I found Emma waiting for me. I shared the details of my conversation with her, and she listened intently, offering support and understanding. I'm proud of you for handling that so well. It's a big step, she said, her eyes shining. I feel like I'm finally moving on, you know. I've spent so long consumed by anger and hurt, but I'm ready to embrace a different future, I said, feeling the truth of my words. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself growing closer to Emma. Our connection deepened, and I felt myself letting go of my past more each day. We shared adventures, laughter, and vulnerability. I realized that I had begun to love again, and it didn't feel like a betrayal to Sarah. It felt like healing. But I also knew that this journey wasn't linear. Healing takes time, and I would have good days and bad days. But I learned to embrace every part of the process. I was no longer afraid of facing the pain because I had a support system, and I was becoming stronger. Looking back, I understood that betrayal had changed me, but it had also set me free. I had faced the darkest parts of my heart and emerged on the other side. I wasn't just surviving, I was living again, and that was worth celebrating. I knew that the future was bright and full of potential, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. As the months rolled on, my life took on a new rhythm. I had settled comfortably into my relationship with Emma, and it felt exciting to discover each other without the weight of betrayal hanging over us. We spent weekends exploring new hiking trails, trying out local restaurants, and even planning a road trip to the coast. It was refreshing to create new experiences together, and I found myself smiling more often than not. But life is a straight path, and I was reminded of that one weekend when I received an unexpected text from Sarah. It had been a few months since our last encounter, and I hadn't heard from her until that moment. My heart raced as I opened the message. "Jake, can we talk? I really need to see you." I felt a mixture of dread and curiosity wash over me. Was this about closure, regret, or was it just another attempt to stir the pot? I debated whether to respond, but ultimately I decided it was better to confront the past head-on rather than allow it to linger like a ghost in my life. I agreed to meet her at the same cafe where we had last spoken. The familiar setting brought back memories, both good and bad. As I walked in, I felt a slight buzz of anxiety, but I reminded myself that I had come a long way. I was no longer the same person who felt lost and betrayed. When Sarah arrived, she looked different, more subdued, almost fragile. The confidence she once had was replaced by vulnerability, and I felt a pang of sympathy. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, her voice shaky. I nodded, taking a seat across from her. "What's going on?" "I just wanted to apologize again for everything. I've been doing a lot of thinking since we last talked," she began, her eyes welling with tears. "I never realized the full extent of how my actions affected you. I've been stuck in a rut, and it's made me confront my choices. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know that I regret what I did." Her honesty was unexpected. I had anticipated more excuses, but here she was, baring her soul. "Sarah, I appreciate you saying this, but I've moved on. I can't hold on to the anger and hurt anymore. I've focused on healing and rebuilding my life." She nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I see that now. I've seen how happy you are with Emma. I'm genuinely glad for you. You deserve happiness." The sincerity in her voice caught me off guard. "Thank you. I really am happy now, and it took a lot of hard work to get here. But I can't lie, it wasn't easy. I get that. I wasted so much time being selfish, and I'm still trying to figure out who I am without the mistakes I made. I hope you know that I'm not asking for anything from you," she said, her voice trembling. I took a deep breath. "I don't want to carry this burden anymore. I want to let go of the resentment because it's exhausting. I hope you find your way, Sarah, but I can't be part of that journey." She nodded, looking down at her hands. "I understand and I respect that. I just wanted to tell you that I've learned a lot from my mistakes. I hope one day I can be happy like you." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment I felt a flicker of compassion. "I hope so too. It's not too late to turn things around for yourself." We spent a few more minutes discussing our lives, how she was trying to rebuild her career, and how I had taken up new hobbies. The conversation was surprisingly amicable, and by the time we parted, I felt lighter. It was a final release of the past, a closing of a chapter that needed to be finished. Later that evening, I met up with Emma, and I couldn't wait to share what had happened. As I recounted the afternoon, her expression shifted from concern to relief. "I'm really proud of you for how you handled that. It sounds like you've finally found closure," she said, wrapping her arms around me. "It feels good to let go. I think I'm finally free from that part of my life," I replied, feeling a sense of pride wash over me. In the days that followed, I started to truly embrace my new life. Emma and I planned our road trip, which turned into an incredible adventure. We explored beautiful beaches, tasted amazing food, and shared laughter under the stars. Every moment felt like a celebration of everything I had worked so hard for. With each passing week, my confidence grew, and I found myself opening up more with Emma. I shared my fears, my hopes, and my dreams. She listened and encouraged me, and I felt like I was falling in love again, but this time it was different. It was built on trust and mutual respect, not fear or betrayal. I realized that my experience with Sarah, while painful, had taught me invaluable lessons about love, trust, and self-worth. I had learned to value myself and to stand up for what I deserved. I had taken the time to heal and rediscover who I was outside of my past relationship. Reflecting on this journey, I felt grateful for the unexpected twists and turns. I had faced heartache and betrayal, but I had emerged stronger and more resilient. I was ready for whatever came next, knowing that I had the tools to handle it. As I sat with Emma one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, I felt a profound sense of peace. I knew I had stepped into a new chapter of my life, one filled with promise and potential. I was ready to embrace love, happiness, and the adventures that lay ahead. Life was beautiful, and I was finally living it fully.